towards me? Away from me. Yeah. Okay. Alright. So we're gonna be live. Mics are not on yet.
We can see your comments too, so type them in.
So we're live.
Yes, we're monitoring the comment section.
2.
Welcome to another edition of the Empower Hour. I am AlQamar.
And I am Hanifah, and this is Nagasi.
That is Nagasi, and we are your hosts each and every Wednesday, where we come to you live with impactful topics of discussion that affect our everyday lives. And today it's going to be one of those discussions. Topic is sleeping with the enemy. Ooh. Are we sleeping with the enemy? How does societal norms impact our relationships? So that's the discussion today. And to help us out, we have Brother Edward X. He's going to be joining us on the split screen from his side of town, and in just a second. And so once we get him up on the screen, he's going to, because we wanted to have some of that masculine energy, for this discussion, because we're talking relationship woes. Or maybe not. Maybe the society impacts our relationship for the better.
Let's see.
Let's see. There's our brother Edward X. How are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. What's happening? Black power and good.
Walaikum assalam. And family, if you guys are joining us on any of our social media networks, and you want to see the whole show live with Brother Ed on the screen and everything, hop on over to eLife Media on the Facebook page. That's eLife Media, and you'll see us live streaming right there. You can catch it there. All right. So, Brother Edward.
Yes, ma'am.
How are things going on your end of the town? Let's get a brief update on what's going on with you.
As far as what?
As far as your day-to-day activities. I know you're right out there in the streets, Southeast Washington, D.C., to be specific. Well, mainly.
Right now, I'm at the Ward 8 Business Center in 4135 Road Roads, Southeast D.C. And as you know, we are experiencing like a bunch of homicides in the District of Columbia right now. So a lot of young people are being murdered every day in the district, and so we just kind of address that and tackle that.
Yeah. So your boots are definitely on the ground, and we thank you so much for all the work you do and with the young folks in the district, attempting to curtail all that violence. And I know it ain't easy. Yes.
It's definitely easy.
Yes, right. But today's topic, we're gonna navigate through that a little bit and come on to the relationships. Okay. And we definitely wanted to have you on specifically because you can relate. So.
I can relate.
Well, am I wrong? Can you not relate to how society impacts our relationships?
Make sure that when sometimes we can't hear you, so make sure that you're speaking up, Brother Edward.
Okay, I have these headphones on because I'm in the office. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
A little better now. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to start with what is your take on that, on how society impacts our relationships? What's your initial thought when you hear that? Does society impact our relationships for the better, you think? No?
I think that, no, I don't think they impact our relationships for the better, but I definitely think that our relationships are impacted in such a way that I have taken a position. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have taken a position that the only way that I will get married is with the sister, whoever she may be, has to agree to individual counseling and group counseling. And I'm not opposed to doing counseling for myself as an individual, but she has to be willing. If she isn't willing to engage in that, and that happens.
Wow. So you're saying you're prepared to go to counseling, and that's big for a brother. You don't normally hear that. from our
Oh,
brothers?
absolutely. Well, I'm as a student of Dr. Francis Prescott and others, I know that we are wounded and we are dysfunctional. And having this privilege of knowledge of self as a black people, we don't know how to relate to one another. If we are honest.
Okay.
And so when you take a black woman who in her 30s or 40s, and you look at what she has experienced as an inner city black woman, where does her values come from? And if she does have values, where are they reinforced at in society? Because when we look at Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and the stuff, the music that is pumping the airwaves, the propaganda that exists, we need clarity. I mean, you can look at our communities, at our relationships, you can look at the condition of our children to know that the way we are doing doesn't work.
Right. I would agree with that. I would agree. And we have somebody requesting, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth on the screen because we definitely want to keep you on air, but we want to make this an interactive discussion with the whole community. So I see that somebody's requesting to join us on the main screen, so I'm going to get them in. Let's see, who's this? I guess they left. Okay, I guess they left.
Okay.
But if y'all, again, if you guys want to join us on the conversation and you're on the screen, just request us. And we'll come and put you in on the conversation. How much of this that we're dealing with you think is mental illness? Brother Ed?
The majority of it is mental illness. When you talk about our mental health and mental health wellness, you know, the person does a physical workout and he engages in physical wellness. Or you do spiritual things and spiritual wellness. What are we doing for our mental health? As a people who have been under white supremacy for the past 500 years, a people who have been stripped of our name, language, culture, religion, history, folklore, and more. A people who have been turned upside down and inside out. What have we done to address that? Nothing.
Right.
And so we are dysfunctional as men and women. And so our dysfunctionality is displayed in our interactions with one another. And so all we do in our communities is attack one another. If you talk to the average black man and talk about the problem, he will say it's the black woman. And if you talk to the average black woman and ask her what's the problem, she will say it's the black man.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And meanwhile, nothing gets solved. We're fighting against one another and blaming the other. And that's one of my questions about how is that effective? How is blaming the opposite sex for all our challenges effective? Is that helpful? Is it helping us? Is it moving us in the right direction?
We must always be honest. So we have a conversation. We must be honest. And I think that
is there any way you can get clear? Are you like on a? Is it a speaker that you can get clearer into, Brother Ed? Because
if I hold this, is it louder if I hold it like this?
It's a little better.
Okay, I hold it like this.
Okay.
So as a brother, I see the power of black women, and black women don't know their own power, and so black women believe that their power is in behind or on, right? But your power is in your person, your being. And if black women took a position on issues, it would change our condition. It would change our community. And so, like in the 60s, Elaine Brown and the women of the Black Panther Party in the 60s, they took a position saying that if a brother wasn't a revolutionary, if he wasn't black and conscious and fighting in the community for the community, they wasn't dealing with him. They wouldn't have sex with him. But here go black women in our community. You got power, and you don't even utilize it. You could say, man, I'm not messing with Ray Little Man because they sell drugs. I'm not messing with them because they kill black people. I'm not messing with them because they are counterproductive. They're not standing up for liberation. And if you took a position like that, black women, and stood on it, you would be surprised at how many people will be being educated. I'm doing an interview with you right now. And a lot of things will change. Like if they took those positions, stood on those positions, they would make black men pull their pants up. They would make black men stop killing each other. They would make black men read. They would make black men educated. They would make black men do more as a community. If black women knew the power of their men.
But
Of y'all men.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I feel like when you say power, and this is more recent because I think like probably up to maybe a month ago, I would have been like, yes, we have a responsibility and so do our men. And I've just kind of been observing, and I have actually been interpreting blame, what we are perceiving as blame as women, I have been perceiving as power, and men telling us just how much power we have. But our way of thinking and being so combative all the time with the black man does not allow us to see that. It's an opportunity. Black men are saying, you guys have the power. But we are receiving it as blame. Now,
Right.
what are some of the things as a woman, as a black woman particularly, what are some of the things that we can begin to do that you think can begin to cause changes in our men?
Take a firm position. Like, if you look at the homicides in our community, right? Black men killing black men. Black women like the shooter. If we remove our emotions and look at our own personal lives, look at the music that you're listening to. What is the music talking about? That's in your car right now, that's in your CD player. What is the music talking about? It's talking about killing black people.
Right.
And black women like that. When you listen to Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, what are they talking about?
Right.
But you like it.
Right.
It's in your CD player right now. But you will tell me don't disrespect you. Right?
Right.
But you really like it. You don't want to change. Black women like the shooter in the community.
Right.
Whether you say you like them because they make you feel protected, whatever your reason for liking them, you
Still
promote
like
that
it.
mentality.
Right.
You promote the mentality of wanting a brother that's a thug.
Right. Right.
Like if a brother that's a square, you be like, I don't want him.
Right.
He's a square. You like that griminess. You like it. And unless you admit.
What we
that
call
you
it,
like
swag?
Swag.
Swag, yeah.
You like the grind, and you don't want the straight
Right.
narrow brother that's hard working and they get up, you know, and
And
go the
there's
extra mile
characteristics
for his
there's
family.
characteristics that come with that mentality. So when now you get
Yeah.
the brother that's a thug, that's you from the hood. Now that you have him, now what?
Yeah. Well, let's go back a little, because again, I'm big on root causes, and I always want to go back to have people understand and realize why they even have these sort of attractions. You know, so a lot of us, we just go through the day-to-day motions. We don't even stop to consider what it is about our character that even drawn or attracted to these type of
Right.
Personalities.
Right. Very true.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Why do you think some of us, it's not all,
Right.
some of us are attracted to dysfunctionality?
Honestly, I think that all black people are dysfunctional. This is the position that I take. And the reason why I take this position is because you cannot function in a system of white supremacy where you wear somebody else's name, you speak somebody else's language, you embrace someone else's culture. You can't be whole. You don't know yourself. Thus, you can't develop a sense of functionality in a system that's not yours. Thus, you are dysfunctional. Thus, I am dysfunctional.
Yes.
So you're basically saying, I mean, is it suffice to say, as long as we're in this cesspool of a culture, that we can expect more of the same?
Absolutely.
So what are the solutions, though?
But is it possible to rectify that and remain in this society? Is it possible
Right.
for it to happen
question.
in the midst of what's happening to us?
Yes, because the boy talking about the double consciousness.
Yes.
So we know that we are messed up, and so we can address our issues. We can begin to address our issues and begin to focus on self and practice self-healing, self-love, self-respect. But you can't practice that if you don't know that, don't acknowledge that something is wrong. The average black person, ask them what's wrong with them and what they're working on. They don't say nothing that's wrong with you.
Yeah, that's
working
true.
on nothing.
Yeah, and you know we're in this new culture now where it's bragging rights to be the single
Right.
parent or the single mom
Right.
or
Right.
the I don't need a man mentality and what I'm saying?
Which comes from the whole single parent household epidemic that we have in our community. That's where we take the attitude on from. My thing is, okay, so in this mess of society and all our dysfunctionality, right?
Right,
We're still trying to do relationship.
right.
Is counseling enough?
Is what enough?
Counseling? Because you mentioned counseling in the beginning. Is that enough?
Well, I think it's a process, and each person
Because, sorry.
water seeks his own level. So counseling for one person, 6 months of counseling might help them. Another person, 3 months of counseling might help them. Another person may need continued counseling. So it just depends on the person.
Now, can you define counseling here? Because if there's someone with no knowledge of self, because you
Right.
pointed out that as part of our issue, there's many of people across this nation who are going to counseling and have no knowledge of self. So when we talk about counseling, should it include some sort of knowledge as far as our history is concerned?
Because not only
Absolutely.
that, because a lot of the counselors don't even have the knowledge of self.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
they're counseling other people.
If you look at our history, right, in Africa, they had like manhood rituals and womanhood
Yes.
rituals that you had to engage in
Yes.
to become a man or a woman.
Yeah.
But in our community, we don't have rituals. That deem
Yeah, the
woman.
coming of age,
In our
yeah.
community, you get locked up and you ain't snitch. You're a man.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I want to get Saladin in on the discussion. Saladin Amar, excuse me. This society has impacted the black community on the negative. However, that dissatisfaction promotes a change for the better, only from those who are dissatisfied and want to work to better themselves and the family and community. I witnessed myself many of my childhood friends lose their sanity, including a sister I used to court as a young teenager. And it affected me when I seen her in that state. So separation or separating ourselves from this mentally and spiritually dead society is not an option. It's a requirement for good mental health. Thoughts? What's your thoughts on that, Brother Ed?
I agree.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I'm wondering if we could do but so much if we're still in the cesspool that caused us so much mental distress.
I mean, but a lot of people in our community don't even acknowledge that.
Yeah.
See, what we're looking at in our community, I said this recently on social media, we are witnessing the culmination of all of us, all these years, saying ain't into that black stuff. So because you ain't into that black stuff, you ain't gonna read no book. Because you ain't into that black stuff, you ain't gonna watch no documentary. Because you ain't into that black stuff, you're not gonna read this literature. But by not doing so, your sons are killing each other every single day, and you don't have no solutions. Because your way don't work.
So if you're not into that black stuff, then what are you into?
That white stuff.
And that white stuff is killing us.
Absolutely.
Steve.
So I briefly, I think
have
this
us
was
out of
like
our minds.
I think we talked like I spoke with AlQamar last week, and I was saying that perhaps we're doing relationships wrong. Perhaps we should consider the fact that consider how relationships function in a time of war versus a time of peace. And I'm not sure that we can afford to do relationships as if we are in a time of peace when we are actually at war.
Good point.
And so I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, I feel, and if you could expound on this, I personally feel like because we are at war, our relationships, we need a little more of everything. You know how some people say their parents raised them, you got to be 2 times better?
Yeah.
Why don't we apply this to our relationships? We apply it when we're going after careers. We apply it in the workforce. We apply it when we're going after our dreams. Oh, I've always been told I need to work twice as hard, and some of us are proud of that. So why can't we apply that same thing to our relationships? I feel like as black people loving another black people, we ought to forgive a little more. I feel like we need to hang in there a little longer. I think we need to show grace a little bit more to each other. What do you think about us doing relationships in a time of war as if we are in a time of peace?
Let me just say, no, you're good. I want to say that I think even in that instance, we have to understand that we are at war.
Right.
And so we are navigating through this landmine without even understanding who's setting the traps.
Right.
And so, so what Hanifah said so eloquently, we don't take the extra steps because we understand. Those who understand will take the extra steps.
Yes,
but if
true.
you don't understand that you are in a war zone and that you got to be extra loving to somebody because they're going through some stuff, as well as you're going through some stuff.
Yes.
So we got to make some exceptions here because of this
Exactly.
war.
Yes.
But if you don't know you at war, you're not going to make those exceptions, Brother Ed.
That's deep because the first step is to get the people to acknowledge that you at war.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
And because you at war, you develop a different system of
Thinking.
interacting because of the war.
Right. Right.
But our community don't know that. Our community doesn't know that. If Mook, Red Little Man knew that they was at war, they wouldn't be shooting each other.
Right.
So we can look at the news and tell from the news where our people's mind is.
Right.
We
Right.
can look at what's acceptable to us. If you look at the black woman in America, by and large, if the black woman get beat up by the police, you know what the black man gonna do? Pull out his phone and record. He's not prepared to die.
Yes.
He's definitely prepared to kill.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I want to just get into some examples of some of the dysfunctionality that we attribute to in the relationships. So, I think of like so much of the domestic abuse, physical and verbal, on both sides.
I agree with you. And we need a system of accountability in our community. We need a system where, if I, as a husband, or many husbands, or if I, as a boyfriend,
A spouse.
am abusive, we should have a system. If I put my hand on her, if it's a brother or uncle, somebody, don't call the police though. Calling the police on me should never be there. You understand that? We should have a system in place that when I'm in error, I could be violated, I could be stepped to, I could be brought to justice. But not by the police, not by the white man.
Yeah. So again, that's thinking in terms of war. So you're thinking as a general in the war.
You know what, Brother Edward, as you're saying that, I completely 100% agree with that. But I also agree with what AlQamar and yourself was just saying, which is the mind state, right? Because I recently I saw kind of like a dialogue taking place on Facebook, and it was an incident of bullying. And these were elementary kids. And the advice to the one parent was, press charges. These are elementary children, black children. And immediately my mind went to, no, get the principal, get the teachers, get the mamas, the grandmas from both sides and figure this thing out.
Yes.
Why would you call the police on a fourth and sixth grader. Why?
Because
But it takes a change of mindset to even take that position.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We are afraid of the police until we want to weaponize them against each other.
Good teaching. That's real.
You know?
That's real. Yeah.
So it does take a change of mindset.
And that's a European mentality, because what they have done is take our children or see our children as full-fledged adults, and so now we do too. So it's nothing for us to call the police on a little child.
Yeah.
Or one of our where, like you said, where instead of us stepping up and taking better responsibility of what's going on with our children,
Now,
Let me say
our
this.
Go ahead.
children.
In Ward 8, over 80% of the households in Ward 8 are headed by black women.
Absolutely.
So that's almost like 90%,
Mhm.
which means every 10 black houses you see, 9 of them are ran by black women.
Mhm.
Out of every 10 houses you see, only 1 has a black man in it. With those alarming statistics, a person with little or no education, you don't have to read a rack of books, you would have to conclude that this is by design. There's something set against us.
Mhm. 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 Yeah.
And then you
Absolutely.
have rules and laws in place that you know you want a voucher, you can't let no black man come to your house. He can't come to your house, or you're gonna lose your voucher.
Yeah.
See, all of this stuff is by design to destroy the black family. And if you're not conscious and don't know what's going on, you're not in the know, then you, by your ignorance, are a pawn and an agent of white supremacy.
You get caught up right in the traps. You get snared right in the traps. And here we
Absolutely.
are, here we are looking around saying what happened. But I want to go back to some of the dysfunctional things that we do in relationships. And I just want to tell the story because you had mentioned, about not calling the police, but handling the situation ourselves, or having an organized scenario to where, our women or men can call and it could be handled and rectified. And it goes back for me to a story my father used to tell me, because my father was in the nation back under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And
Right.
He used to tell me that one time this woman came into the mosque. They both, her and her husband, were members of the mosque that he was a member of, and she informed the brothers in the mosque that he had hit her, or he was beating on her. I can't remember the details. But he told me the next time that they saw that man in the mosque, the brothers took him and threw him down a flight of stairs. And they told that brother if he ever put his hands on that woman again, he could expect a lot more. And the woman never had that issue again. So again, going back to handling our own situation. We don't, if you know what I'm saying, if there was enough men to step up and just own as, take some responsibility, men and women, this is going to take us all, it really is, to step up and take the reins of leaders, and take, to organize. So, because it can be done, it's just everybody is waiting on somebody else to do it.
That's what I was going to say. Brother Edward just quoted a statistic. He just said, is it 80% you said, Brother X?
Over 80.
Over 80%. We need to hear that as women.
Yeah.
That is power. That is power. Over 80% is headed by women. So in other words, I'm not saying that this is the ideal. I'm saying that, I'm saying this as a black woman, and to other black women, just consider this. If we could just stop for 1 minute and say, whoa, this thing is in my favor, okay? To start shifting my community in the way that I would like it to see. Because we have the upper hand. It's not anti-man when I say that. What I'm saying is, we are at an advantage here. What are we doing with that? Right? So if I'm just saying to any black woman listening, look at that. And that's just that's a portion of DC that you quoted. All right, let's talk nationally, nationwide. Most black households are headed by women. Okay, so it's sort of like, what are we going to do as black women? Are we going to sit and say, woe is us?
Yeah.
Because 80% or more, 80% plus is headed by us. Our men have abandoned us. Woe is us. Or are we going to say, you know what? We have the opportunity to change this thing because the numbers are on our side. What do we do? What do we do with it? Are we going to start raising our boys differently so that we can raise men who are there in the household? Or are we going to sit down and have a pity party with our girlfriends? We have to make a decision.
Yeah, because it's a dire scenario. It really is, and it affects us all. Even those who are happily married and doing their thing and doing all the things that they supposed to be doing. They butt up against these individuals on a daily basis in some way, shape, or form who are struggling along. So it affects us all, and it behooves us all to be more proactive. To be more proactive.
I have a question about the relationships, Brother Edward. We the topic we're talking about particularly is like how does the stresses of the society we live in, how do they impact our relationship? And I want to say, how do they impact our relationships directly? Can you give us some examples as a man?
My black brother's about to get mad at me on this one.
Okay.
My black brother's about to get mad at me on this because I think that the black man, I'm on Facebook Live. I think that my black brothers are scared of the white man. Black men, by and large, not every one of us, but there's enough of us that are afraid. And because we're afraid of white supremacy,
I'm coming to you.
To address white supremacy in a
You
real
too.
confrontational way. So, as cowards, we take it out on our women. You ever seen somebody get bullied and they never address that, but then they bully somebody else?
Yes.
That's how we are as black men. So the white man bully us, and so we scared of him, so we turn around and bully our women, because that's the only way we feel like we are men.
When you say they bully us, how? Well, give us some examples of how, the Europeans bully us.
Give you some examples.
Yeah.
You got his name, he got your name. I mean, the stuff like the police, the brutality, the mob attack, 500 years of brutality. Not that he just gonna go in your pocket, but I'm talking about not no individual instance, but the collective white supremacy against us as a community, as black men. And in the last 500 years, we haven't taken a stand. We've showed like signs of resistance, but by and large, we've never taken a stand.
What would that look like, taking a stand against racism and white supremacy?
Well, black people annually spend $1.1 trillion a year. So if we took that money that we spend as consumers and turn annually and put our money together in a kitty and develop like a national black bank for us, we can end unemployment in our community. We can create manufacturing companies to employ our people. We can create schools to educate our children. We can do everything that is necessary to make us independent if we just come together.
Yeah, that economic piece is vital. That economic piece is vital. Yeah. So I heard brother Boyce Watkins posted on his page yesterday. He said something along the lines of to ask for reparations and then turn around and give over $1 trillion back to the same people you asking reparations for. It's like asking a doctor to give me a good surgeon, give me a good heart surgery, and then when he done, you stab yourself right in the chest with the knife.
Right.
That's real. That's real. So it's like our priorities are misconstrued.
And that's because we don't know.
Yeah.
We honestly don't know. We honestly are good people. We are good people. But we
Yes.
suffer from self-hatred.
Yes.
We hate one another. We love white people. and we display it. We display it with each other. If you just look at the news, you don't have to read a lot of books. The condition is such that you could just look at the news. We kill each other every day. An 11-year-old little boy was just murdered by a 29-year-old black man in D.C. How does a 29-year-old man shoot an 11-year-old unless that 29-year-old has mental health issues?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you could dress it up and say you were defending your stepson or whatever you want to use to say, but it's a dysfunctionality that's not being addressed.
Yes.
And we see these meltdowns every day. Like I work at the Water Aid Business Center. I see it every day in the community. Black women have meltdowns, black men have meltdowns, and it's all because we're not addressing our mental health.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you even said that, because what I'm finding, I don't know if you guys have the same I'm finding this as well, but I'm finding a lot of people out there will say things like, oh, they're using that mental health as an excuse. Oh, they know better. They shouldn't have done that. And mental crazy or no crazy. And I don't know if you guys can get that, but I'm on social media a lot, and I read a lot of comments. And when something goes down that just for me is just like straight dysfunctional, mental illness, but people will be like, that's an excuse. Nah, he need to die. So it's like, I don't even think we even have the proper understanding of mental illness.
Listen, AlQamar, this morning, I put a post up this morning on Facebook. I said, good morning, kings and queens. And a conscious brother said, don't greet me with that white man greeting. Say, assalamu alaikum. And I blocked him. And I blocked him because I'm like,
I don't know what's coming.
so your mental health is so gone, so off, that I say good morning, and you can find a flaw in that.
Good teacher.
You can find a flaw in that. What type of Negro who professes to be conscious is looking for flaw in something black? I say good morning, kings and queens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kings and queens.
Yeah.
I ain't say niggas and niggas.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's because I heard Ayanna teach it. She said you can become addicted to pain. I think a lot of us are entered a place where the pain and suffering is so consistent and ongoing that we just in it. We swimming in it and ain't trying to get out.
Let me say this.
So when you come with some good energy or some positive energy, that's uncomfortable for them because they're comfortable in the pain. You want to say something?
I don't even refer to myself as being a part of the conscious community anymore because most of the ignorance that I see displayed dealing with black people comes from the conscious community. Yeah. Those who say they in the know, all they do is find fault in anything. Anything you try, they're gonna find fault in it. Like I was saying that recently I said black men are scared of their own sons, their nephews, their cousins, their little brothers. We're scared about our children. And then a brother came on my post and said, well, what black men you talking about? Because not the black men I know. The black men I know, they soldiers. And woo, 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 woo. And I said, well, damn, where are they? Because those black men you talking about, we need them in the community to show some programs. Y'all know how to, all these entrepreneurs skills, how to elevate our community, all this cultural know-how. Where in the hell are you at? Because only people you teaching is the people who think just like you.
That's true.
Which means you are part of the problem.
That is so very true. That is so, and I have to watch myself and not to get caught up in that because it's
comfortable. Walk right past Ray and little man to go to a rally with a bunch of conscious people, but the people who need to hear the message, you walk right past them, and you were scared to say something to them.
That's real. That's the God honest truth. So it's like, it's just like this, bringing it to folks' attention so they can better understand. But going back to the dysfunction specifically in our relationships as it relates to male-female, how does child support play? What role does child support play in causing a greater divide?
Let me tell you something. It's amazing that you were asked that because actually I am one of those brothers, and I like to look at myself as a good brother. Like I see myself as a good black man. I'm striving. I'm not perfect. I got faults, shortcomings, issues. But
Do you?
essentially, I'm striving, right? I'm trying to be a better person, and I'm on child support. And I told my son, mother, I go like you know that can affect your relationship with your child. Like if you paying your child support to the courts and it goes to the mother, then when you have your child, it can affect your relationship if you're not mature. Because if you paid your child support and then you got your child, and you be like, I want this or that. Like, man, you gotta go holler at your mother. And a lot of people are not that mature. And I can be honest, on one of the things, I can say the only thing, but one of the things that make me have a different perspective is because I'm conscious. So being conscious again is essential.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one another dysfunctionality of black women use the children as a weapon. And a lot of times, black men who are unconscious, just leave, just a rollout. They're tired of dealing with that dysfunctionality, and the child internalized that abandonment and rejection. So that's another issue that developed from the dysfunctionality of those relationships.
Right.
How important are elders in addressing the dysfunctionality that keeps appearing and manifesting itself in our relationships to each other? The reason why I'm asking that question is because grandmothers are becoming younger and younger, right? And most of us are not really coming into the knowledge of self until way in our 40s, close to our 50s. And some people, a lot of us are grandmothers before even hitting 50, okay? This is a real thing now. And what I'm finding is that the supposed wisdom or the advice that's coming from what we would consider that I'm of the mind that elders don't necessarily have to do with your age anymore. I've let that go. But I'm noticing that you have grandmothers whose advice I cringe at because they haven't dealt with their mental health. They haven't dealt with their own toxic issues that's within themselves, their own abuse, and they themselves are single women, right? And so their advice, you come into them, and maybe you're not married yet, maybe you're just with a brother, and you're really trying to make this work because now you're in the know now, right? I'm finding that when you go to these people or these older people for advice, you're better off getting it from another peer of yours the same age. So how important is the elders in addressing our dysfunctionality? And if we are scarce on elders, what do we do? I mean, elders with sound advice.
And wisdom.
In our community, we used to have what we call Big Mama.
Yes.
She might be the grandmother or the elder in the family. Everybody listen to her. She can correct the family when your aunt and your uncle are arguing. She'll get them together, make both of them be quiet. So Big Mama in the black community is dying off.
Yes.
So Big Mama, as she dies off, the little mama, she's so pressed to give her children what she didn't have, that she is forgetting to give her what she did have, which was values and principles, right? And so I think that's crippling our community, the death of Big Mama. Big Mama, like in my personal family, my grandmother, when she departed, like she was the only person that can bring, she was the glue. And now the people that she was the glue for, you would never see them again in the same room unless it's at a funeral.
It's very interesting that you pointed out Big Mama, because even during a time when we considered our families were more intact, I would say before integration. Even then, the black woman has always held a powerful position in our community, always, even with the presence of our men in the home. That was always there, and that just came to my mind as you're talking about like Big Mama. So I'm not sure. I know a part of it is integration. How much does integration play a part in what we're talking about as far as the dysfunctionality in our relationships?
I think they play a major role. I think they play a major role because what you're looking at is some deaf, dumb, and blind black people trying to be white. And we get shocked every time that white folks let us know we're not white. If you look at all of our movements, they stem from the rejection of white people, from white people rejecting black people, and we get offended. And so we organize movements around that rejection.
Please accept me.
All of our no justice, no peace movement stem from us thinking we white, and then an incident of white folk showing us you're not one of us. And we're so shocked.
Yes.
We got to organize against this.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's a lot of that going on now with the whole Trump thing when he said, go send her back to. So there's a lot of people coming out with videos now. You know, my feelings were so hurt. They told me this when I was young, and I'm still traumatized by it. And I'm just like, who told you? Whoever told you that white people loved you? Whoever told you that? Like, and why were you told that? It's a lie. So what now? You're as an adult. Why are you so hurt by this?
Because
why do you want to be loved? Right?
That's why you
by
hurt.
These people that have done the most diabolical things to people that look like you. When have they ever loved us?
And you want to squeeze in.
And it goes back to what he said. You're looking for white validation.
Yes, you are. Yes, and that's why you're so hurt. That's why you're so hurt, because me, I laugh. Call it what you want. But when I hear Trump say silly, ignorant things out his mouth, it's funny to me, because I don't get offended, because I know who my enemy is. So why am I going to get so offended and hurt and crying and all in my feelings when my enemy is displaying who he is, his nature?
Let me say something. I am Brother Jahab right here. He said this the other day to me. He was talking about Cory Booker. Cory Booker is the president's candidate, right, from New Jersey.
Yes.
And they asked him about meeting with the Honorable Minister Morris Farrakhan, right? And he said he would, but then white people got on him. And you so scared of white Jews.
Yeah, slipping and sliding.
Now you wouldn't meet with the minister. But here go a man in black America, we number 30 to 40 million.
I gotta come to you.
40 million people, and we call it a million man mark, and it's arguable. Some people say 2 million showed up, some people say 1.5 million. You know, they argue about the number. But nonetheless, it was the largest organization of us as a people, as black men. And you would refuse to meet with him because of what white people think. So who are you working for? Who are you trying to receive acceptance from?
Yeah.
And this is our leadership. These are the people that we allow to, that we look up to and say they represent. They don't represent us. If you won't meet with the minister, you represent Jews.
That's right. That's right.
Most of what we are.
Jihad, that's how you gonna tell Trump to meet with him, right?
Hey, Jihad.
Hey.
most of what we are calling, I've come to the point where I'm noticing most of what we are calling black excellence is just we are plotting acceptance into white spaces. And we are labeling it black excellence. That is something that I am noticing. And I'm just like, I think I'll hold my applaud. I love black people and I love to see us progress. But why is it only considered success when it's acceptance into white spaces? What is that about?
That lack of love of self. And before you go on, I want to get the YouTube family on, because there's been some good comments. Brother Cushite Prince says, you must be mentally and spiritually healed first before you can truly love another person. So that's going right into what we're talking about. It's like, you know, if we don't have the self-love, the love of ourselves, then yeah, we're going to seek that validation outside of ourselves and outside of our communities. Because we really don't want nothing to do with our community. We want to be there. We want to be on the equal playing field with our open entities. Basically. And then somebody else had said early on, Kushite again, he said, a lot of our people are addicted to pain and drama. This is why so many of our relationships fail. We have to heal our minds and spirit. Too many of us look for another person to complete us. Anybody want to take that on?
Edward, addicted to drama. Isn't that the normalization of trauma in our community? We normalize trauma to the point where we go into our relationships looking for drama. And if it's not there, we will create it. We're magical in that sense. You know that.
And we see this on a regular basis online of how we respawn and reshare traumatic events that happen in our society. That's all we do in a lot of instances, not all, but that's for a lot of us. That's what we do. It's like, oh, look, they killed Mook Boo. Oh, look, this happened. Oh, look. You know what I'm saying? Oh, look. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, wait a minute. What are we doing in retaliation to that? What are we doing to counter those narratives? Why? You know what I'm saying? We're just stuck in victim mode.
Edward, can marriage be used to counter a lot of what we're talking about?
I mean, if you're going through a process of healing, like self-healing, you can't love the next person if you don't love yourself. And lately I've been hearing a lot of black women say, I don't want to be his mother. I want to be his wife. And
yes.
He's looking for a mother. I've been hearing that a lot lately. I guess that's a new saying on y'all. But I've been hearing that a lot. So we definitely need to be healing. I think that marriage as a process to heal us, I think that's good, but we got to heal ourselves and know who we are first as an individual. Because we ain't going to bring our problems to the next person.
Yeah.
If we never address our issues.
So
and
then
as
what?
I say it again, I believe that all black people got issues.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. You cannot.
So what does the path leading up to relationships, what should that path look like? Leading up to that commitment? Because it sounds like a lot of the work that you're talking about needs to take place outside of each other first. And then together. So what does that look like leading up to the commitment piece?
Knowing yourself and knowing what you want. Like a lot of black men, I'm gonna speak from my own experience, my personal experience, and what I know, like from people I know. A lot of black men that come home from prison, right? They got a girlfriend or a wife that held them down, been there for them, wrote them, came to see them, and answered their calls, right? And regardless of how long they've been in prison, life for her goes on, right? And so she is somewhat established compared to what he is going through. So when coming home from prison, you move with a woman, right? The average dude that come home from prison, the average brother, he ended up moving in with a woman. And when he moved in with a woman, regardless if you pay all the bills for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, it's still hers. So as soon as y'all disagree, what is she gonna say? Get out. Then you gonna beat her up, right? Because you're like, man, I've been paying bills, I've been doing all this, you gonna tell me get out. So you're gonna go upside her head, right? But this is a process, this is by design. And we not addressing those issues. So for a man come home from prison, I think I'm definitely against men living with women. I'm against that. I don't care how much you love her, how much you love you. If it's hers, you cannot be the king in her castle. You can't be. I don't care how much you love her, how much you love you. It's her castle. And as soon as she gets mad, she gonna tell you to get out. And if she ain't got no knowledge of herself, she gonna call the police and enforce you getting out.
Right. Is it possible to get Jahar in on this discussion? Because I got a question for him.
Let me see. Let me take his headphones off.
We see his head. Come on, Jahar, we see your head.
Jahar, I heard a very impactful discussion that you guys were having the other day. You know, I was on the phone and I was listening in, and I heard you say something, and you said that my sister Hanifa has addressed on past shows. You said nobody wants to fight with the black woman. You remember that? You were saying that the black woman pretty much is hands off, and that is
She's infallible.
She's infallible. Can you elaborate on that a little bit as to why you say that?
I was just saying, just based on the historical context, when black women are organized and conscious, nobody really wanted to fight them. I mean, the history, shows that the greats amongst us, the Harriet Tubmans, the Mary McLeod Bethunes, the Sojourner Truths. We could just go on and on. Fannie Lou Hamer, Dr. Height. I mean, the best. I think a lot of black women today take it out of context when they say black women are the backbone of the family and the black community. The black community is failing miserably, and it's really because I think black women that they misinterpret what that statement was saying. I think y'all use y'all beauty in the wrong way. I think that from the time we notice the difference between boys and girls, boys do a lot of what we do for attention and acceptance from females. Mm-hmm. And I think it's evident that mothers today are more interested in their daughters being like Beyonce and whatever their names are, Ariana Grande and all that, and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. That's why we're in the condition that we're in. Just like, for example, in D.C. right now, we have the facilities in D.C. are full of juveniles that's incarcerated, and they only incarcerated for one reason, because they're poor. Their parents don't have the money to afford them an attorney. Well, we live in a city where the mayor put $500,000 aside for illegal immigrants. I mean, just slow down what I just said and wrap your head around that. So we have people who are in this country illegally, but the mayor, a black woman, would take our tax dollars and put $500,000 up for their legal defense. If that $500,000 was put up for the poor black kids that's locked up right now, all of them would be home. Maybe 1 or 2% are in there for violent crimes, for murder. Everybody else that's in there for riding in a stolen car, for theft, stealing clothes, stealing food, selling weed. If their parents could afford an attorney, they would come home. So, I just think that if black women were serious about, our community and our lives, I think everybody else would just fall in line. That's what I think.
Yeah, and you also mentioned something about how our children are in extracurriculars that relate to sports, but hardly ever in things that help stimulate their minds, like debate clubs and chess clubs and book clubs, stock market. Can you elaborate on that as well for us, please?
Absolutely. Europeans have used sports as a weapon against the black community. I mean, every black community is, they want their sons to be the next Michael Jordan or the next whoever the running back is or whoever the black quarterback is. So all of their time is spent in AAU basketball or in unlimited football, the Beltway League, the Pop Warner, where I watched the Republicans who are in office there in the Senate right now. They control the Senate. Most people don't know that over the past 2.5 years, they've appointed 150 judges to the lower federal court. And most of them are around 40 years of age, which means that they'll be shaping policy for the next 40 years. Wow. Whereas Obama was in office for 8 years and they only appointed 12 judges to the lower court. Wow. So forget the Supreme Court. We talk about the lower courts, and what they understand is that if they're able to shape the policy and they can control the law, they will be able to control the land. Wow. And all we want is for our sons to be the next LeBron James. I mean, that's our greatest aspiration. I mean, I was walking, I was down at the harbor earlier this week, and everywhere I looked, it was teams of black kids, black boys and girls. They all played for team takeover, and this team and that team. I mean, everybody's kid is basketball.
Yeah.
Whose kid is going to be the scientist?
Right.
Whose kid is going to be the lawyers? Whose kid is going to be the accountant? You know what I'm saying? So I think that we have so many misplaced values. But to me, the first teacher is the mother. And I don't talk and try to be nice to black women about this. I think this critical crisis that we're in can be changed if the black woman really take responsibility. And some people say, well, the black man ain't doing what he's supposed to. Well, most of the time, if I investigated, the black man is not doing what he's supposed to. 9 times out of 10, he was raised by his mother. And so it goes back to the decision who she made to have a baby with. Because clearly, I mean, at 50, and I'm looking back downhill, I can see the females I was in a serious relationship with, ones I paid attention to, I could see the correlation between them and their mother. Like I could see, like if I look at who their grandmother was and the mother was, I can see them. When I look at my men, I can see the same thing. I can look at their fathers, look at what kind of activities their fathers was in. I mean, and I can see the direct correlation between the way they are and their fathers, how they were raised. And so I said this to you before, I mean, and we laugh and joke about it, but you know, birds have really little brains. But the female bird, the wren, travels around to 12 male nests before she decides who she gonna mate with. Because she knows that if she pick wrong, her eggs are gonna fall and her young gonna die in the street. Well, black women haven't adopted that yet. They have babies by anybody. And then when the kid is crazy as hell, we like, I don't know why he act like this. He won't sit still. He can't be. Well, I mean, the apples don't fall far from the tree.
So I have a question because earlier in the program, Edward AlQamar mentioned there's this back and forth blame thing where it's like, I think Edward, I don't know which one of you guys said it, but that's all right. That it's like both sides are waiting to see who's gonna go first. What does it look like when we as black women say, I'll go first? What does that look like? What begins to happen if we were to just collectively as black women say, you know what? We'll go first. We'll take accountability, we'll take responsibility, we'll step out first. What does that begin to look like?
So I believe that's exactly what has to happen, and I believe that we're gonna fall in line. I mean, I believe from where I sit, 50 looking down here, I know y'all got the power for real.
Oh no, I know.
But I just also know that to whom much is given, much is required, and it takes a lot to be responsible for all of this mess, and there's a lot of mess. And I know that I just know simple stuff like if girls in high school start saying, we don't talk to boys who don't go to school. I know most of these black boys don't go to school. We don't talk to boys who don't pull their pants up. Like, parents don't have to tell kids to wear belts. The girls can tell them to wear belts because they are attracted to, like, they accept this kind of behavior from boys. They're attracted to that. So until we get into the psyche of where that comes from, we won't never really be able to address it. You know what I'm saying? But I believe that, I was saying to Edward the other day, I can't go to a city in America and find black women meeting in the church every day, working on trying to, how I'm gonna get my son not to kill your son. It ain't a movement like that nowhere in the country. But I can go to any shopping mall, I can go past any Vietnamese or Korean nail salon or foot salon and see it packed with black women just sitting, waiting to get petted and mannied up. And I'm just saying, your sons are murdering each other.
Yeah.
I know if a cat got kittens right here and I started to go bother her kittens, I know she gonna die. She gonna risk her life to protect her young. We the only people that just, we just gonna have some Starbucks and cry a little bit and have a candlelight vigil and then we be on to the next one to do this all over again tomorrow. I'm just like, my mind is just blown. Anyway, if y'all know the organization, I'm looking for one. I want to help financially, whatever support I can lend to help. I think, I mean, y'all are the saving grace to our situation. And if black women don't start organizing and demanding more from us, like I was telling man, yesterday, I remember when I got locked up when I was 12 and the police came to my mother's house. She took them to my stash. Everything I had in there, I wasn't supposed to have, she gave it to the police. The whole neighborhood was looking at me like, man, your mother mean as hell. Your mother can't love you. But I'm walking around believing that, like, but she told me the whole since I was 9. If the police come here for you, I'm gonna let them have whatever you got in here that ain't supposed to be in here. When you get locked up, don't call me. So I knew at an early age I was on my own if I was gonna break the law. And that helped shape me. I know guys who 40 now is still looking for their mother to put their house up. Still, they in trouble, so they want their mother to go take out a loan on the house, and they know they going to jail.
Right.
And they gonna let her use 40 or 50,000. I was talking to my girl, who's like a sister with me the other day, and she was kind of, talking about her son, and he's 23 years old, and she was saying that she's still paying for a cell phone. And I'm like, well, is he a full-time college student? And she was like, no. I'm like, is he in school? Like, what would the reason be that you would be paying a cell phone? You're only 23.
Yeah.
Well, we just on the plane with me. I can just go through.
Yeah, I hear you because enabling
It's killing these boys.
Enabling our children leads to dysfunctional adults, really, because they're not in a position mentally to take care of themselves. And here we are. And you can see the results of that everywhere we go. But we have run out of time. But what I do want to, end on a proactive note. And so what I'm hearing you guys saying is that the women need to step up and do a little more, or a lot more than what we've been doing, which is like host, and I'm thinking for me, what comes to mind is like etiquette classes for young girls. If we know that, that the girls have this type of influence on the young men, then why don't we educate our young girls very young on how to have that influence on the brothers so they understand and recognize their own power. So, we can be doing more of that. And that don't take much. You can put on a class in your living room with a bunch of the community children. If you have a little bit better understanding and knowledge as to what we need in this day and time, so I'm just putting a call out for all the sisters out there who are watching and who feel like nothing, what can I do? Well, mentor a young girl, or take on a course, or a class, or take more time with the young people in the community. So that's my advice.
Like I always go back to.
I think we should have a conference. We should bring some sisters and brothers together, and we should really build out a blueprint from people's life experiences.
That's a great idea.
I always go back to, I guess that would be the book of Exodus, I guess, where Moses is standing there and he's like, okay, here's this big old Red Sea. What are we going to do? And God is like, what is that in your hand? And that's always my thing. What is in your hand? What is your strength? What are you good at? And that is what you use to help and uplift your people, period. We all have something to give. We have this idea of categorizing people from least to greatest. We have this hierarchy based on classism. And that doesn't matter. I'm here to tell you it doesn't matter. I was a 13, 12-year-old growing up in the housing projects in the Virgin Islands, and I used to gather the young children in the community, and we used to perform and go to shows, and it was something that they look forward to come out and practice. That's because that was in my days. I used to like to dance. I still got it, but that was what I was good at, and so that's what I use. As an adult, it's still looking at, what are you good at? That is what you bring to the table. We all have something to contribute. We all have something to contribute. So that's just my take on it.
I agree. Good stuff. All right.
You good at that Bible, Hanifah?
Yes, I am. They beat me up good for years with it. I ought to be.
Well, I want to make a quick mention that here at Everlasting Life on the first Saturday in September, I believe it's the 3rd, but don't quote me. First Saturday in September from 2:30 to 4:30, we're going to be hosting a mental health workshop. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to bring some people in, and we're going to be talking about the mental health issues in our community and how we can forge forward in fixing some of our challenges that we find ourselves dealing with. So come on out for that. And for every first Saturday of the month, we're here doing something. So this first Saturday, it's a workshop, economic workshop. So come on out for that as well. It's always free, 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Brothers, we thank you both so much for joining us. We wish you were right here beside us. I know that was the plan, but sometimes things don't go as planned. But thank you so much for joining us on this session. And until next week, family, take care of each other out there.
All right. Peace.
Thank you.
All right,